All right, thank you for tuning in to the community conversation brought to you by Prototype Training Systems, home of CrossFit Prototype. Sam and I are back with another nutrition episode to help provide you with some education and strategies to better your nutrition while still enjoying your social life. There's a lot of misinformation on nutrition. We want to aim to provide you with some clarity. Today, we wanted to talk about how to lose weight in the most effective, sustainable way. So I'm going to start off with Sam. What are some of the most common misconceptions when it comes to how a diet should be approached?
Well, I feel like a lot of times what happens is people are like, oh, I have a vacation in 2 weeks. I need to lose weight fast. And then you like walk into the grocery store and then like right at the cash register, there's a magazine that says like how to lose 10 pounds in 2 weeks. And so people go into weight loss as in it's like a quick fix and it's like an easy solution to this problem that they're having of like, they want to lose weight, they want to make it happen fast. And they can just do that if they follow what they see in the magazines. But then when you look at weight loss as a whole, like it really just boils down to a simple like calories in versus calories out. But the thing is, if you don't have an appropriate balance and you try to do too much too fast, then a lot of things tend to go wrong. And it's not sustainable, which is like the big key point I think that we like to touch on is like, if you want to lose weight, you have to make changes that are sustainable. So like you're approaching a diet and you're trying to decide what to do to lose weight. The first thing that you should do is figure out what can be sustainable and how you can maintain that for a long period of time, like potentially the rest of your life.
So, okay. So you're saying the big thing is that typically when someone goes into a diet, they feel like the results should be happening quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And would you say that most people probably they just want it like now? So if you had to give someone advice that wanted to lose 12 pounds, let's just throw a random number out there.
Yeah.
How long should that take if, I don't know, let's say they're not like really obese or they have, I don't know, maybe 100+ pounds to lose. How long would 12 pounds take for someone that just wants to lose a little bit of weight?
So typically like sustainable and safe weight loss that I recommend is anywhere between 1/2 pound to 1 pound a week. Anything more really does push it and doesn't really give flexibility to like live life that still includes like socializing and like celebrating birthdays or like being more flexible with the diet. Anything more than 1 pound a week is potentially doable. It's just really aggressive. And you have to be very, very strict on your diet to make that happen. So like 12-pound weight loss is going to happen across like 3 to 6 months. Now that's like typically what I recommend. John, are you similar in that or do you recommend something more aggressive?
No, I'm right with you. I think like anywhere from 1/2 pound to 1 pound of weight loss just depends on the individual too. Some people might lose weight a little bit quicker, but it kind of depends on their genetics as well as their dieting history with, what they've done in the past, but also like how much weight they have to lose. But I guess if you're looking at someone that was just looking to lose a little bit of weight, then that's kind of, yeah, you're spot on. That's kind of the timeline I would give people as well, as like 3 to 6 months. I think a lot of times, like, I don't know about you, Sam, but when I have clients that check in with me, they almost feel like they failed when they only lost 1 pound that week. When they do like their weekly check-in or their bi-weekly check-in, they're like, I lost 2 pounds. I know I probably should have done better, yada, yada. When really like, that's huge success. If you can enjoy your life and like still make gradual progress, and like, what's the rush in like getting to the goal? If it feels like if you feel like it wasn't super difficult for you to be able to make gradual progress, then isn't that like a, kind of a good thing?
Yeah. You don't want to suffer through the 3 months and be like, this is terrible. I hate my life. Like you want to enjoy the process.
And there's so many different ways to like structure a diet, right? So you can structure a diet where you you know, track your food and you know exactly like how many calories you're having. And some people might go ahead and have like I don't know, they might have some foods that they incorporate more like in flexibility at times, like maybe it's going out to dinner once a week, like maybe they have a system like that. Like there's a lot of different ways that you can structure your nutrition. But if we were to go into what's the most effective way, Sam, what is when it comes to nutrients and things like that, what would you say like is probably the most important thing if your goal is that you want to lose weight? When we say weight, I guess we mean like body fat, not losing a ton of muscle. What would you say is like one of the most important nutrients you can put in your body?
It's protein. I'm hopeful that you agree. Uh, if nothing else, and you're trying to lose weight, realistically, what you're probably trying to lose is fat. That's what we get more often than not. I don't know if anybody's ever walked in, at least to my office, and been like, "Yes, I want to lose muscle." Probably not. Probably not for you either, John. When people talk about weight, they really mean body fat. They want to change their body composition, because sometimes what happens is like weight loss doesn't actually happen. The scale doesn't go down, but body composition change. So fat loss happens, even if muscle mass is increasing and scale doesn't change. So when we're talking weight loss today, we're really talking about fat loss. And the biggest thing to think about is protein. It's like getting enough protein in your diet so that there's not any muscle wasting. Also, for satiety of like having a meal with protein is going to keep you fuller for longer. So if you're eating something that's just like a plate of pasta, maybe cutting down on the volume of pasta and replacing that with protein is going to keep you fuller for more than like the 2 hours that the plate of pasta would keep you full for. So it helps in a like put you in a calorie deficit because of like keeping you fuller for longer. John,
Yeah.
do you have like a specific number? Like if someone comes into you and is like, I want to lose weight, do you have a number that you say you should be getting at least this much protein a day?
1,000.
1,000.
Um,
I'm
imagine
listening. 1,000 is not the number. 1,000 is absolutely not the
1,000 what you just need 1,000. Uh,
number.
I usually recommend the bare minimum amount of protein they should have should be lean body mass, the amount of pounds of lean body mass that you have on your current body. So let's say that you weigh 200 pounds, but your lean body mass is 150, then you should be having at least 150 grams of protein. But usually I might even recommend anywhere from 1 gram per pound of lean body mass to 1 gram per pound of actual body weight. The reason why I'll go in like that that range is that if you're having 1 gram per pound of lean body mass, then you're supporting you know, lean tissue and not losing it. But if we go a little bit higher than that, then it's also like Sam mentioned, it's a little bit more satiating. But we also forget that your body burns energy when you consume food, and protein, you burn more calories in doing that. So if you were to have 2,000 calories and you were to have 100 grams of protein, or you were to have 2,000 calories and you were to have 140 grams of protein, you're going to expend more energy having 140 grams of protein because your body burns about 30% of the calories that come from protein and just the metabolizing process. Just like imagine like little workers in your body like having to work a little bit harder because you're giving them a little bit more of a workload than what they are used to having. So you expend more energy from having that. So if we can support lean body mass, but also like having enough protein that we don't feel hungry all the time, it's a lot easier to you know, not have like increased cravings and things like that when it comes to getting that nutrient. So that's why like that is so important. And
How would someone know what their lean body mass is?
well, you could do like a like an in-body scan at the gym, like our facility. You could go to and get you go and get that checked from. Then they have like DEXA scans and things like that. So there's different methods to be able to do it. You could do like a calculation, but that might not be the most accurate way to figure it out. But there's a few different ways to approximate what your lean body mass is. But Sam, lean body, more muscle you have in your body, also results in faster metabolism,
Mhm.
correct?
Yeah. Higher muscle mass equals higher BMR. BMR stands for basal metabolic rate. But yeah, you burn more calories at rest and you have more muscle. That's a good thing.
Right. So if you put on muscle, you can eat more, eat more food,
Yeah.
without, because you're expending more energy. So sometimes we think that cardio is going to be the best way in order for us to go ahead and expend energy, but sometimes you got to look at things as they're both important. Cardio is great for your heart health. It is a great tool for expending energy, but we also want to lift some weights, because if we're not lifting weights and we're not growing, building muscle, supporting that muscle, then uh, probably going to find that over time we're going to decrease the amount of muscle that we have in our body, which just makes future the amount of food that you're eating now would potentially have to decrease if your goal is to stay at the same frame while not adding in more like stuff to be able to build and support your muscles. So protein is the main nutrient to be able to, to be able to support your lean body mass. Sam, what would you say is next the most important thing?
Well, now I would recommend finding a balance of fats and carbs. Protein and carbs both have 4 calories per gram, and fat has 9 calories per gram. So by volume, you're getting like kind of the most bang for your buck with proteins and carbs. Like you can eat more volume of that versus a fat. However, you can't go without fat. So it's figuring out then what the macro breakdown should be based on those two. Ideally, we're getting lots of carbs in the form of like fruits and vegetables. Additionally, like some whole grains, like starchy vegetables, which I consider carbs, or like I consider them starches as opposed to vegetables, but like your potatoes or corn or peas, things like that. And then making sure that the fats that you choose are, they call them healthy fats. So like avocado, olive oil, things that are basically liquid at room temperature is the best way to describe them. Of like if you're cooking with oils, room temperature liquids are the best way to go. I don't know if that makes sense, but maybe you can kind of clarify what I'm trying to explain there.
You're saying that some fats are going to probably have some omega-3s and things like that are good for anti-inflammatory responses in the body. So if you're getting the majority of your fats coming from red meat and things like that, it's not that they're necessarily bad for you, but if your whole diet as a whole is just high in like saturated fat, then we probably want to try to find a little bit of a balance of having some of those more plant-based options. So not everything is coming in the form of,
Hot dog.
yeah, exactly, like sausage or anything like that.
Yeah.
So just having just a balance between all of them. But in the form of weight loss, does it matter if we're having more carbs and less fat, or if we're having more fat and less carbs? Does it make a difference? Because there's so much controversy with, high fat's good because, and low carb is better because it doesn't, spike insulin, and it's more of the keto is a big phase now, where having more fat means you burn more fat. Does it matter where you get your calories from in the sense of carbs and fats, or yeah, does that matter at all?
My answer is always it depends. Some people will do better higher carbohydrates, and typically those people are athletes. Where if you are working out like an hour or more a day, then you're better off getting more carbohydrates than more fats. Now, for someone who maybe isn't working out as frequently, but still is trying to lose weight, getting like a more equal split as like a more of a balance between the two. Like, so if you're working out more regularly, then you're probably going to get a higher percentage of your calories from carbs than fats. But if someone's working out less frequently, or they just know for a fact that their body does better on like a more balanced fat to carb breakdown, then like it doesn't necessarily mean having more fat in the diet is bad, because I know there was like a whole phase in the 90s of like low fat diets are the way to go. And now it seems like it's swung the other way of keto is the way to go. Realistically, we want a balance of all three macronutrients. But you can play with the macros. I'm trying to like not overcomplicate this, but it is kind of complicated. Of like you can play with the macros to figure out what best suits your body and promotes muscle gain while also promoting fat loss.
Right. So as long as you're getting enough protein, it's more preference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. We don't want to be too low in protein.
It sounds like you're recommending that if the more that you exercise or the harder your workouts are, that you probably feel better on carbs.
Yeah.
But in the form of weight loss, it sounds like it just depends on what's easiest for you to stick with.
Exactly. And like the more you exercise, realistically, it's just that the body craves carbs as a source of fuel. So if you're exercising and you're not giving your body carbs, there's a higher likelihood of having cravings, and then higher likelihood of either binging on food or having a quote unquote cheat day that's like not conducive to that fat loss goal that you have.
Right. So when it comes to timing of when we have certain things, does that matter at all? Because I mean, I think we can just look at like the timeline of things that have been presented in, the dieting world of, you need to keep your metabolism firing by eating every 2 hours. Like, does that matter? Like, do we need to eat 5 small meals? Does it matter if we have 1 or 2 larger meals, and just in the pure form of weight loss?
So again, the answer is it depends. However, for the purpose of this podcast, my answer is no. Because you have to first be in a calorie deficit. And no matter how you get into that calorie deficit, as long as you are in that deficit, you will lose weight, right? The body burns X amount of calories. If you eat X amount of calories, you're at weight maintenance. But if you eat a lower amount of calories, you're at weight loss. Now, you can get those calories all at 8 a.m. Like you can eat your entire day's worth of calories at 8 a.m. and you'll still be in a calorie deficit and you can lose weight. You can eat those spread out every 2 hours throughout the day and you can be in a calorie deficit and you can lose weight. Sure, it's probably not practical to eat 1 meal a day if you're trying to lose weight, because you don't want to have hunger cravings throughout the rest of the day. However, at the end of the day, like timing is not as important as calorie intake and macronutrient breakdown. So it's like you have to think about the major things first before you get into things like nutrient timing or supplements or anything else that kind of comes after. Like, how much should you be eating? What types of macronutrients should you be eating? And then you can get into when should you be eating it.
Right.
You did the same thing, John?
No, yeah. I mean, we're definitely going to probably talk about intermittent fasting in the future, but intermittent fasting, if you are not familiar with it, it's when you restrict the time of day that you're eating. Usually intermittent fasting protocol would be like, you won't eat for 16 hours, you eat for 8 hours. And, just goes to show that like timing doesn't matter. It's just more about calorie balance. For some people, like that can be a way that they can feel most satisfied, because they can eat like 1 or 2 like large meals in 8 hours without feeling hungry. And the other time frame of the day is just like it's just easier decision for them to eat or not. We'll dive deeper into intermittent fasting, but small meals a day, you can eat 3 solid meals, you can eat 2 large meals, you can eat once a day. You just want to be able to maintain a slight calorie deficit. And if your calorie deficit is too severe, then you're probably going to end up compromising muscle loss, because when calories are too low, your body finds calories from somewhere, takes it from muscle tissue as well as body fat. So if we're smart about our calorie deficit, we are in a small calorie deficit of anywhere from like 250 to 500 calories deficit on average per day. And that's for 7 days. That would result in that 0.5 pound to a pound body fat loss. But if we are are in, let's say, 1,000 calorie deficit, you know, your body will most likely take glucose from your muscles. So it'll break down some muscle tissue for energy. And that's why we lose muscle mass. So slight calorie deficit, protein needs, make it sustainable. It doesn't matter when you eat, as long as you're getting enough calories and also is something that kind of works for you.
To be clear, we should not be eating in a 1,000 calorie deficit per day.
Yeah, I mean, that would be what? That would be 2 pounds a week average. And for most of us, we don't need to lose 2 pounds a day. It's always like,
Very few, small series of circumstances that would be appropriate.
yeah, it's always, it depends. Like if you're 400 pounds, like sure, you would be fine in having, you know, 1,000 less calories than what you've been having. But someone that's 400 pounds is still going to be eating a lot more food than someone that is 150 pounds and they want to lose weight, right? So the answer is always, it depends.
Can we maybe jump into like an explanation of how you would calculate out a calorie deficit?
Yeah, I mean, you could go like, as you go into like, if you know your body fat percentage, you can like, there's equations that you take into your height, your weight, your activity, and your body fat percentage. You put into a formula to be able to figure it out. There's some online calculators. Some of them are you know, science-based, based off of you know, things that have been studied, is the most accurate way to figure out what your calorie maintenance is. Or you can go ahead and, you know, there's some simple ways like, what's your goal body weight? If you're, you know, goal body weight, multiply that by 12. You know, that's like a very simple way to, you know, have an idea. That's probably not the most accurate to figure things out, because there's so many different variables when it comes to, well, how much you're working out and things like that. But when I figure out someone's calories, I use a formula, and I base it off of also what that person's doing. So if you know, if that individual is, you know, working out once a day and they sit at a desk all day, you know, where their maintenance calories are and how much they're, you know, how much they're moving their body, you know, kind of take into account all those different variables in their life, versus someone that's a construction worker. You know, their calorie deficit is going to be different. But you need to know what your calorie maintenance is before you determine anything else, and then you got to figure out all the other stuff.
Yeah, honestly, a good starting point to weight loss is figuring out what that maintenance number is. Like I feel like a lot of people come in either having dieted their whole life or always been in this like swing of like weight loss, weight gain, weight loss, weight gain, and never knowing what maintenance calories are. Like if you're someone who's doing that and you're trying to lose weight, try getting weight maintenance first. You know,
Yeah.
it's a good place to start.
Yeah, it's always tough too when like when you think that you're eating a certain amount of calories, you think, what, you know, this is my maintenance, and you think you're eating this much, but we don't really, you know exactly what we're having, because we don't count alcohol or the weekends, or, you know,
You lick a peanut butter spoon or take a bite of your kid's snack.
yeah, like
All adds up.
all those little things that, you know, can add up to a few hundred calories throughout your day and throughout your week. You know, those all matter. Not saying that, you know, you should be hyper focused on food, but if you really think that you're eating 1,500 calories and you're not losing weight, you know, I don't know if your calorie deficit is either set correctly or if you actually know how much you're eating. And those are usually the two things. Most of the time, metabolisms and our thyroids and things like that aren't really the issue. They can be, but most of the time it's just like purely being unaware of calories in general, that, you know, and how quickly they can add up. When you put dressing on your salad, that can accumulate based off of the type of dressing that you're putting on your salad.
Mm-hmm.
Between like a, a fat-free, a low fat, and then they have dressings that are like 18 grams of fat per tablespoon. And sometimes you put like 3 on there, and that's, might as well just get the fish tacos at Fridays. Like,
Yeah, exactly. And the thing too is like you could be logging everything, and if you base your deficit off of what MyFitnessPal or like whatever your Fitbit is telling you, like those apps typically grossly overestimate the amount of calories you're burning in a workout. And so like that could be another reason that like even if you are super diligent about tracking everything, like you're weighing, you're measuring, tracking is 100% spot on every single day of the week and no weight loss is happening, probably the exercise has been overestimated. Because I see that happening a lot too.
no, yeah, totally. And then like, what happens when like some stress is introduced into our day and into our life? Like, I don't know how many people track their habits or track their tendencies when something comes up,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe that might be something to look at too. If you're like, oh, why can't, why do I struggle so much with weight loss? I mean, some of the things that we've already talked about, maybe think about, okay, it's something stressful comes up in your day or your life,
Mm-hmm.
or you get off the phone, you get out of a meeting, do you walk over to the cabinet, open it up, scan? Like, do you have some of those tendencies to go ahead and not really being aware that if you're actually hungry or anything like that? Like, I guess that would just be mindlessly going about your nutrition. Like how much are you actually paying attention to some of those other habits and some of those other things that are going on with your day? Those usually are, oh, I forgot about that. I didn't realize that I finished my kid's juice box. Like,
Mm-hmm.
all those little things, if you are someone that feels like, there's something wrong with you, you can't go ahead and, you know, dial in your nutrition, so you just give up, maybe we want to start with just looking at some of the very basic things like that. Some people don't necessarily need to track their food. They need to be more aware of what their day look like, what they're doing in their day regularly, as well as what are you doing on the weekends with your friends.
Mm-hmm.
Are you having like multiple alcoholic beverages, and are you saving all your calories at the end of the day, and then you end up binge eating and now you're having a lot more than you realized, and then you start on Monday? Like, we want to look at the habit loop. Like, what are some of the things that keep reoccurring?
That's a good point, John. Because I think a lot of times it's like we are doing other things. Like it's not like eating is an intentional part of anyone's day. So it's like you're running from here to there, so you just grab a quick handful of pretzels on the way out the door. Or like, oh, like I don't want to throw out my kids like the leftover crust from their PB&J, so I'm gonna have that, and like that'll be my snack. But it's like those things do add up. And so like figuring out like what is the cause of all of those things happening, right? Like it's not like you're doing something wrong if you're eating pretzels on the way out the door. It's like, why is that happening? And it's probably because you're not making time to sit down and have a lunch, or like you're not making time to plan a snack. And if you start making the time to make those things happen, then you don't do those habits that potentially are causing you to overeat.
Right. Yeah, even just like maybe like even just having somewhat of a plan for the day.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes practice too. Like, we're
Mm-hmm.
not trying to make it sound like it's easy or something that is a quick fix, but it takes practice. And best thing you can do is, you know, um, reflect on what your nutrition looked like each day if you do have goals.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at, okay, this scenario came up in my day today, and I approached it this way, and that resulted in this. What can I do different next time to better myself? So maybe it's, okay, maybe instead of having, just grabbing like a Mandarin and thinking that that's going to tide me over for 4 hours, maybe it's, bringing something of a little bit more substance with you. So then when you do get home and dinner's not ready for an hour, that you're not having basically a meal before you actually eat your dinner because you're that hungry. So some of those common situations come up all the time, is just like, it's not intentional. It's not that you're trying to skip lunch or anything like that. It's just like Sam mentioned, like, you gotta make the time. And you also, if time is really something that's hard for you to go ahead and like sit down and have a meal, then we got to come up with a solution, whether that's going to be making your lunch in advance or having something that's more portable that you can bring with you in the car. There's so many different scenarios that can be resulting in why you might be inconsistent with your nutrition.
Mhm.
I mean, it's also what we, if you are struggling with some of those things. So if you guys like need a little bit of help with some of those, some of those strategies, how to approach nutrition for your lifestyle, like reach out to us. But Sam, is there anything else you want to add when it comes to, I guess, like what's the most effective way? I guess if we were to summarize this, you got to know how many calories you need to maintain your weight.
Yep.
And if the goal is to lose weight, then we need to know that we're eating slightly less than that.
Slightly
Whether
operative word there.
Yeah, whether that's tracking or it's not tracking, we have to have some form of system that works for us, that doesn't result in us, having to take either, having a day devoted to, we've talked about, if you didn't listen to it, go back to our episode on cheat days. We talked about cheat days. You have to have a day of the week that's devoted to, eating the foods that you don't allow yourself to eat, how to be able to incorporate some of those things in moderation into a fat loss diet. So it doesn't feel overly difficult. And I think that what we pointed out in the beginning is there's no rush to doing this. If you lost 20 pounds and it took you 5 years and you had the habits developed in order to keep it off, then why does it matter if it took you 5 years, versus 30 days? In 30 days, you probably didn't learn how to be able to do that sustainably. It probably felt very difficult to do that. And yeah, Sam, anything you want to add?
Yeah, no, I think that's all like a nice little recap. I think another thing that I'd like to add before we close out is like intentional weight loss is not going to be linear all the time. And so it's okay if the scale goes down a pound and then up a half a pound and then down half a pound and up, you know what I mean? It's not gonna always be like every single week, even if you're eating in that perfect calorie deficit based off of your body and your calculations, like weight loss still might not be going down exactly a pound every single week. It's changing the habits and then seeing that overall trend line that you should be looking for. It's like the scale does not necessarily need to go down every single day for it to be like actual fat loss. You'll see sometimes it goes up, you'll see sometimes it goes down. It's just making sure that like you don't have 6 weeks in a row where you're intentionally trying to lose weight and the weight isn't changing at all.
Yeah. And probably shouldn't respond super drastically to the scale.
Yeah.
If you lift weights and you do something that's really stressful, your muscles can get swollen. Let's say you do 5 sets of 5 back squat, and then you weigh yourself the next day and you gained 1.5 pounds. Doesn't mean that you gained 1.5 pounds. It means that you have probably a little bit of inflammation. And inflammation isn't always a bad thing. That means that that's a response that your body got from you lifting weights, and that's how your muscles are going to build. You need an inflammatory response in order to grow muscle, but that is going to result in the scale going up a little bit. So if every time we see any form of, that fluctuation, like Sam mentioned, of the scale going up, if we respond by doing something that is unsustainable or super severe, then you're probably going to run into the same thing again where, okay, you drop 2 pounds, but then you're starving, you binge eat, and then, it's kind of a back and forth type of thing. So that's a really good point, Sam. Yeah. The scale's not always going to go down. So
it might not even change at all. Like if fat loss is happening, but you're also building muscle at the same time, like you might stay at the exact same weight. But just see changes in body composition, like clothes will fit differently. You'll be stronger. You can lift heavier weights. You can like run up the stairs a little bit faster. You can like run around with the kids and grandkids without getting tired. There's like a lot of non-scale changes that can happen that like, if weight loss is the goal, it's probably fat loss that's the goal. And so even if the scale is like not cooperating the way you want it to, we got to figure out like, are there other markers that are showing that fat mass is going down? And if the answer to that is yes, then consider that a success. And you don't need to live and die by the scale.
No, I agree 100%.
Cool. You got anything else, John?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times people have a goal of they want to lose X amount of pounds, and then they realize that they either are happy where they are now because they, didn't realize that they didn't need to lose 10 pounds. They just wanted to maybe lose a couple pounds, and they wanted to focus on feeling themselves better for their workouts, and they notice those body composition changes. Sometimes that'll happen. And sometimes you'll also have these goals of, I want to lose 20 pounds, and then realize that, that may not be what's best for you. That may not match your lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
So we have to take some of those things in consideration too, that, you want to, have, a certain lifestyle where multiple times a week, maybe your expectations of, having a 6-pack abs may not be realistic, but we can still be happy, and we can still go ahead and, be healthy and find that common ground of what's going to meet our, our lifestyle, as well as making sure that we're being healthy in general.
Yeah, great points. So with that said, if you are someone who wants to lose weight, or someone who thinks you want to lose weight and we actually need to talk about why it is that you want to lose weight, you should come talk to us. This is what we're here for. We love talking nutrition. This is like the stuff that we research 24/7. I would say that we are experts in nutrition. So we're here to help. So definitely reach out if you have any questions or concerns. If anything from this podcast today hit home and you think that we might be talking to you, please reach out. If you have suggestions for future podcasts, please let us know. And in the meantime, we hope you all have a wonderful day.